Hello everyone, this is Avery JV back to you with a new video. The long-awaited Mezco ranking and informational video is finally here. Unfortunately, it is in a part 1, part 2 format, so here's part 1. So, as you can see in front of you, you do not have Mezco figures, you have Marvel Legends. And the reason I'm starting with these Marvel Legends is because this is a thank you note to the makers of Deadpool and Wolverine. Because if it were not for that movie being so hyped up and so exciting, I would not have gone out and bought a Wolverine Mezco figure, and I would not have then had the taste to buy more Mezco figures after already owning a few, but they were older, so not as good. So I had to give a thank you to that. The reason I have the Marvel Legends here is because the colors, the patterns, they look a little bit closer to the movie, but still in comic book form. So, that's why those two were there. I figured I would just throw this in there, just as a little thank you, so everybody knows why I'm so hopped up on Mezco right now. Otherwise, let's get into the actual video. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mezco 112 Collective Ranking and Informational Video Guide. So today I'm going to be going through a ranking of all of my Mezco figures from least to greatest, and with honorable mention sitting in front of you. And throughout the video I'm going to throw in a lot of tidbits, a lot of information, maybe some buyer's guides, and different things you should know before getting into the hobby. Or, if you're already in this hobby or already doing Mezco figures, maybe you want a little more information on the, collecting world of Mezco. And so for those people, I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit of information out there for you. The line was started in 2015 and was part of a collection with a mission statement to make 1/6 scale figures in 1/12 scale. They saw Hot Toys, they saw 3-0, they saw these companies, and they saw what they were doing and said, you know what, we want to do that, but we want a budget scale. We want to make it smaller so people can match it with their G.I. Joes, their Marvel Legends, all that stuff. So here we are. And so with the honorable mentions, we've got the Fantastic Four Herbie figure. We have the Timber from the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes set. And we have the Catwoman figure. The reason Catwoman is on this list at this low spot is because there were just some figures that pushed her out of the ranking, unfortunately. She was in the ranking at some point, but I got more figures. Catwoman is definitely a good figure. I don't say I wouldn't recommend her, but her ankle joints are very limited. She has single jointed elbows and knees. Does hurt the posability. The accessories are really good. Extra hands, opening satchel, extra heads, goggles, backpack, cool stuff, good suit, very durable, just not as fun as other stuff on the list. The Herbie figure is an honorable mention because, well, it's Herbie, it's not really the true Mezco 112, but he does have a rubberized articulated neck, he does have full body articulation, interchangeable parts, opening hatches all over him for more playability with other figures. More of an accessory, less of a figure, but still, I consider something a separate figure if it is fully articulated with interchangeable parts. That is how I determine that it's a real figure. He also has a flight stand. Timber, also fully articulated with interchangeable parts. His head is replaceable with other heads. He is fully articulated. He's at the bottom. Also, he is a wolf. He's not exactly the true Mezco. So I wanted them on the list, but I didn't have any reason to put them above actual Mezco 112 figures. So that's where they are. But now let's move on to the top 20. So coming in at number 20 is the Cable figure. This is the PX Previews exclusive version, which leads me into my next fun fact. Mezco is known for having previews exclusive figures and Mezco store exclusives, whatever, what have you, right? And basically with this line, they normally come in a cardstock box, just a normal box, right? But occasionally when something gets the exclusive treatment, they get put into a metal tin, and that's what he came in. He came in a metal lunchbox style tin without the clasps on it with the handle. Just a metal aluminum tin that you popped open the lid and it was set out nice and premium. And he's premium because he's a variant of an existing Cable figure that's more futuristic, more modernized. This version is clearly based on his appearance in the X-Men comics as an X-Men member. And honestly, he's at the bottom of the list because even though he does have several accessories and he is pretty fun to pose, he just doesn't have the wow factor in him that I have with other figures. He is still a very good release, but there are just some limiting factors, like his hands are a little bit difficult to put on the gun sometimes. He did come with a corroded battery in his neck, so his eye doesn't light up the way it's supposed to. Honestly, he's just not as exciting as other figures on this list will be. But otherwise, I'd say he's a pretty good release, and I still recommend him if you can find him on the aftermarket. He's not available, as far as I know, on any official websites, but I think he's pretty good. Coming up on number 19 on this list is the Mezco exclusive White Power Ranger. I know this will upset a few people, but hear me out. He is really fun, but he has some floaty parts that are a little finicky to work with. His head sculpt is garbage. That's not to say that they did a bad job, but the facial scans they did of Jason David Frank from back in the day are not exactly the easiest to work with, so I don't fully blame them, but it still came out on the figure, so I have to include it. I will say, rest in peace, Jason David Frank. Oh, this is such an amazing figure, but it has flaws, and honestly, it is a Power Ranger. I don't have a lot of ideas of posing for him, but that may just be a fault of mine. But this is a list of my own making, so, you know, that's gotta work its way in there. Otherwise, I do recommend him, but he comes in at the aftermarket price of like $130, $140 occasionally. I did get him a bit cheaper at like $115. It's not a lot of money considering he has a ton of accessories, lots of cool parts. Saba has laser eyes is an inclusion. It's a really good release and I definitely recommend it. Coming up next on the list at number 18 is the Invisible Woman. Now I know you guys hate me, I just ranked her higher than the White Ranger. The reason that is though is because she has a fun factor for me. Unfortunately, I did have to super glue the base of her neck to her body because it kept falling off. I think the Fantastic Four was plagued with QC issues, but my release is pretty good. I love the head sculpts. I love the body. It actually does work a little bit better than with the Catwoman. The effects are pretty fun to deal with. She has the bright blue suit, definitely comic accurate. I think she just has a level of quality to her that I don't see often with 6-inch figures, and I have to appreciate that. But I do actually really enjoy posing her with the other figures in my Galactus display, so for that reason alone, I gotta put her a little bit higher. And she actually leads me into my next fun fact about Mezco. They are generous as hell. So, they made the Fantastic Four box set. They did not do that crap where you have to go out and find each individual figure for a set in a team. They decided to put them all into one big box together and say, here, we're going to cut the price back a little bit so it's even more affordable, but hear us out. We are going to overload the shit out of this box with accessories. And that is exactly what they did. They gave her a ton of accessories, lots of interchangeable hands, interchangeable heads, interchangeable effects pieces, large effects pieces, a flight stand with the base, all of it. And that doesn't account for the rest of the Fantastic Four that we'll get into later. So honestly, an amazing figure in a really incredible box set, but we will get into more of that as we get further in the video. Coming in at number 17 on the list is the original Mezco SpiderMan. This is considered the Mezco Spider-Man because they did an original design for him. They did the extra webbing over the head and the arms and the legs with the sculpting. They did a special spider logo. They had the back spider a little flary looking. They made him look original to their version of Spider-Man. He's definitely a definitive version for Mezco. The bottom of his feet even have really neat texturing on them. I said definitive, but I meant like a very original Spider-Man. I misspoke, sorry. He is like my first Mezco figure ever, and I was thoroughly impressed. He's lower on the list because he has shown his age, parts of his suit are getting worn out and stuff, and honestly, he's not the easiest thing to pose because he has the early Mezco syndrome of having limited articulation and a lack of accessories, I'll say. He definitely suffers a little bit, but honestly, it's not too bad. I still think he's a very charming figure. I like the accessories he came with. The box was really fun. And honestly, for the $70 I paid for him, I do not have any regrets. Next up on the list at number 16 is the Far From Home Spider-Man. This is another Mezco exclusive figure. This one was also a limited release. I did buy it aftermarket. I do not even slightly care. He is totally worth the money. He's super posable. Definitely has better articulation in the ankles. His accessory count is a lot higher. He had a bunch of interchangeable heads. He had a lot of interchangeable hands and webbing effects. He is definitely pretty amazing. I also have an affinity for the suit. I love that suit so much. The black and red works so well for me. Honestly, and with the white logo on the back, that's just so cool. Honestly, this is an amazing piece, and I definitely appreciate having it. The reason he's not any higher on the list is because most of his interchangeable heads are just slightly squintier eyes, and honestly, the way they attach to the neck and stuff, it makes it a little weird. It just feels a little weird. Otherwise, he is an amazing piece. There's just other things ahead of him that are a little bit better. Coming up next on the list at number 15 is the Green Goblin. So this is a more recent release, and it definitely shows. And the reason that is because he does have a lot better articulation. His ankles are vastly improved, and that's a common theme you'll see throughout this video. He has good materials. People are concerned that his torso fabric will eventually flake away. I'm not too concerned because I won't be posing him that often. But I will say his accessory count is extraordinarily high. He has a lot of interchangeable heads, he has a lot of extra hands, and a ton of extra effects pieces that he's used throughout the comics, and even deep cut accessories. If you haven't already seen this figure in hand, you gotta get him. And I know this is gonna sound really dorky and weird, but another reason I got him was because, and he's so high on the list, is because of his colors. He's just super bright and colorful, and for some reason that brings me a lot of joy. Honestly, 10 out of 10 figure here. He's not higher on the list because there are some figures that have brought me extraordinary joy. And honestly, he brings me really good joy, but I don't pose him very often at all. I do love the effects pieces under his glider. Those are absolutely sick. I think this whole thing is awesome. I have no regrets buying him. Coming up next on the list at number 15 is going to be Black Suit Spider-Man. So number 15 on this list, Black Suit Spider-Man, because why not? It pains me that he's low on the list for me. He was a gift from my wife, and he is an amazing piece. He does have a lot of part articulation. Like, his articulation absolutely destroys almost every figure on this list. Actually, I'm pretty sure his articulation destroys every figure on this list. There is no figure I have in the list that's more posable than him. Unfortunately, the material they used for the black suit did disrupt the joy I have because his black suit logo is actually peeling away from the suit, and he is beginning to get the flaking issue on his lower back. I have posed him quite a lot over many years, and he has held the test of time, but unfortunately he is finally beginning to show his age, and I will have to put him down and not touch him almost ever, because, well, he's fragile. He was a PX Previews exclusive, a variant to the previously mentioned SpiderMan classic figure. He did come in the metal tin, and yeah, if you can manage to find him on an aftermarket, I would definitely say go for him, but unfortunately this brings me to my next fun fact about Mezco. They have a flyer in every box that says this is not a toy, this is intended for adults only, and the reason they say that is because these are delicate, they should be handled with care, and they should not be played with on a daily basis. These are definitely made for display more than play, but they have the play factor in there, so if you're gentle, you get to enjoy that too. He does have a very limited amount of accessories, just interchangeable hands and web attachments, but they did go the comic book accurate route of putting the slit for the webs over his fist so that he can shoot webs like he does in the comics. He is amazing, but he is very fragile, and unfortunately that just holds him back on this list. If it were not for that, he would be significantly higher on the list. Alright, coming in at number 14 on the list is The Thing. So this figure is on the lower half of the list only because he has the most limited posability out of any figure on the entire list. He is higher on the list compared to the others though because his accessories are fun. He has simple yet extraordinary. Extra heads, definitely comic book accurate, has the interchangeable hands that are fun. He has bendable light pole and a bendable steel beam. He does have fist effects pieces, so it looks like there's a comic book impact to his punches. He's a hefty son of a bitch. And he does have all of the disguise pieces necessary to put him on a street view. Honestly, he's just really fun, and that coat for some reason just feels so satisfying in the hand, and that's another point of the Fantastic Four box set being a generous release, because at $400, it's $420 technically, but I got him for $375 as a box set at a comic shop. It's an incredible value for what you're getting, and honestly, he had to be higher because he just feels so beefy in the hands. I don't know why, it's just so much fun to play around with. But again, super limited articulation, which does bring him down several slots. Alright, so now we're on to number 12, actually. I somehow skipped a number, and yeah. Thing was actually number 13. This is number 12 on the list, the Snake Eyes figure. We already saw Timber in the honorable mention section. Snake Eyes is a lot higher on the list. I think it's common sense. He is completely loaded with accessories. He is very posable, very fun. His suit is very durable. He is not higher on the list because he suffers from something that you guys are not going to fully understand unless you have one in hand. Too many goddamn hands syndrome. If a figure comes with more than like 4 sets of interchangeable hands, I begin to believe it's overwhelming unless it's necessary. For him, he has so many extra hands with so many different slight variations that it actually makes it very frustrating to pose him, because I have to sit there and fully examine all of the hands I'm looking at just to think if I'm holding the correct hand for the certain accessory. Some of you may disagree with that, but honestly I think there is such thing as too many accessories. He also has separate kunai and throwing stars and different stuff just in singles, but in triples, like they're 3 of each. And It's a little bizarre because you also get the effects pieces of him throwing a grenade and throwing ninja stars with the effects. I don't understand the need to have multiples of all of these accessories, but maybe someone else has a need for them. But beyond there just being an overwhelming amount of stuff, I think he's almost perfect. He is really, really fun. He just has that one little issue that holds him back just slightly. That and his ankles could tilt a little bit more, just a little, and he would be perfect. Moving on to number 11 on the list, we have the Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees figure. Moving from one extreme to the next, he has a good amount of accessories. He has every weapon he's ever killed somebody with in the Part 3 movie that this is based on. He has the extra head with the bloody gash in the top of his head, with the mask with the bloody gash in it to match. He's pretty much perfect. He's pretty perfect, and he is a lot higher on this list than a lot of other figures you would think to be more fun than him, because I love Jason Voorhees, and we're entering spooky season right now. And honestly, this is so freaking cool. I love this figure. I really don't think they could have done anything to improve this figure. He doesn't need crazy articulation, and he doesn't need to have the most stuff or the least amount of stuff. He's just perfect. And honestly, that's why he's so high in this list. He has a very special place in my heart, but unfortunately for him, there are figures ahead of him that just wipe the floor with everything else below him. So, yeah, that's why he's up here, and now we're going to move on to the last figure of this video, number 10. And now for number 10, we are moving on to the very first Mezco 112 collective figure ever released. This is the special thing I mentioned in a previous short, I think. I purchased him recently and found out while doing research that he was the very first Mezco release ever. He set the standard for what Mezco was trying to accomplish by having the full body fabric with the sculpted arms and, well, the sculpted forearms, hands, feet, and calves. And the head, he does have a decent amount of accessories. He has the hands he needs to have. He has the pieces he needs to have for the specific run. He even comes with an extra leg with a gun holster in it to provide that specific version of Batman. Obviously, I have him holding the gun because I thought it was pretty neat that he even came with it. He does have an extra head. He even came with this goofy looking apparatus to hold up his cape so that it looked like it was flowing. I'm never going to use it, but I think it's really impressive that they even included that. His base is a freaking bat signal. Need I say more? So, yeah, he's pretty much incredible, and his articulation is really good considering he's the first one they ever made. So really, if you can find him anything below $200, good luck. I got him for $150 at a comic shop, the same one I got the Fantastic Four from. But he does go for a very pretty penny, and his box was extra premium. I would say definitely recommend him. He's definitely worthy of the top 10 category. And he is going to end off this video with, if any of you have noticed who's been in the background the entire video, that is Odious the Living Curse. That is the figure that was made by Unparalleled Universe. And the reason he's in the backdrop, one, because I thought it'd be kind of fun. He's just sneaking back there. But the other reason is the impact Mezco has had on collectors. Collectors were not asking that often for full body fabric over their 6-inch figures. It just wasn't a need for us. And now that it's been opened up, the floodgates have opened, and now collectors are going rampant. Odious the Living Curse is a perfect example of what Mezco has done for this community of collectors. because they have made it to where now we have a fully articulated action figure with full soft goods clothing over the body, with a bunch of extra hands, a lot of extra heads, extra accessories to hold on to, a premium box format. Honestly, Odious the Living Curse is what Mezco has been trying to accomplish, but made by the fan versus the company. And so I'm ending off this first half of the series as a thank you to Mezco for including this kind of thing in the collecting industry, because now that you've opened this floodgate, we are getting some figures out there that look absolutely spectacular with soft goods bodies versus sculpted plastic parts. Honestly, this is taking collecting to the next level for people, and Odious is an example of that, hence why he's going to be the cameo of the entire series. But thank you for watching this first half of the series. The other half is going to be in production shortly after this one gets uploaded, and then you guys will get that one in a few days probably. But it will be exciting because there's going to be a lot more headed your way. But thank you for watching and enjoy your day.